Reggae Interviews. Word Sound Power.
This is Reggae Interviews here at the legendary Tough Gong Studios for a reasoning with a cultural ambassador, a social activist, and a highly respected female in Jamaican music. I think she has a no-nonsense approach, speaks her mind. Big up to the Fyah Muma Queen Ifrica.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I want to say thank you to you and the Nuh Rush team for making this possible.
You're so most welcome.
I feel that at times, life is always busy, and sometimes it's great to take a few moments to hold a reasoning with some of the people whose music we've followed from day one. Just get a little bit of an insight into what's happening now, what's there to come in the future as well.
Yeah, man, that is so needed. It's welcomed. Yeah.
Now, the year 2023, I feel it got off to a great start because we were blessed with your performance at Rebel Salute, the 29th anniversary. Can you believe that?
Can you believe that? Time is here and it's moving. What are you doing? Yeah, it's happening. Yeah.
You kind of blessed the stage at Rebel Salute in, I would say, the Fyah Muma style. You didn't hold back at all. You said what was on your mind.
Yes. I mean, we are vessels, we are the conduits and the catalysts that the atoms choose to be this voice. We're sitting in Bob Marley's place. Look how that's what Bob Marley did. He used himself as a vessel for those who wanted to be heard, some way, somehow. And we are just standing on those shoulders, you know what I mean? Yes, I think I can more describe it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks after Rebel Salute, you blessed the stage at the Bob Marley 78th Earth Day celebration with Auntie Marcia.
Yeah, that was like going to heaven moment, you know what I mean? Because those sisters are really and truly my purest reason for doing music, because growing up as a little girl, I would have seen and hear them and know that these women are different from another set, because the two sets of women were always there, but it was always who was pushed on the most and those like us coming up. So I looked up to Marcia Griffiths, the way she dressed, the way she was one away. She didn't grow her locks because she was around Bob Marley. She kept herself the way she was. Rita kept herself the way she was. Judy kept herself the way she was. So out of the three of them, I've always admired. So to join, for her to invite, because she just saw me and said, you're coming up tonight. You're coming up tonight. And who says no to Auntie Marcia? You know what I mean? But for her giving her good words of encouragement to me and really noticing what I do in music, that was very humbling, and I'll never forget that moment. Yeah. I
mean, I think having spoken to quite a few artists, a lot of the younger females, they always quote Auntie Marcia as one of their role models.
Yeah, man, she is deserving of being called a role model. She's in the industry for 59 years though, come on. And look at her. She's always turning up. She's always beautiful when she does, and she sings her songs with grace, So I appreciate her.
And I think that, what the really sort of interesting fact about Marcia Griffiths is that her very first single that she recorded for Cox and Dodd was never been released to this day.
I heard her say that, and I was like, wow, can you imagine, the journey that we go through, the stories that we have to tell, like where did your scratch begin? Because I always remember Lee Scratch saying, everything begins with a scratch, and that was her scratch, right. And I hope that they find that song and release it.
Yes.
Yeah.
After all these years, 59 years.
Exactly. That would be so nice to hear. Yeah.
Now, last year, Queen Ifrica, we saw you back in Europe for the first time in a few years. We met at Reggae Jam, where you were promoting your latest single at the time with Nuh Rush Records, Serendipity.
Yes. Serendipity. It's a word that can be used for many different reasons. My reasons for using it was my aha moment, my moment of realizing that I was really on the right path, and what I was looking for was really right in front of me. And so it affected me to the point where on the very day I got my serendipity moment, I had to write it into my skin, henceforth the reason why I now sport the word serendipity on my arm, because I didn't want to forget the moment, Yeah.
I mean, that song itself, it came on a more of an up tempo kind of rhythm or beat, which is something that we've not been used to seeing Queen Ifrica on.
The funny thing about it, with me is that I stuck to reggae genre deliberately, you know, because I can ride. And I have a very big song in Europe that I did with Bob Sinclair on house, you know, that was on a house track. So I can ride on any rhythm, but I think there's an intimacy between me and the reggae one drop. Right. So when people hear me, and they will hear me on more of those stuff, because that's one of Nuh Rush Records productions as well. When people hear me and they kind of like the aggression that I come with, you know, as a female, I'm spitting like the Cape on them and this. So it's kind of fascinating to ones when they hear it, and I think that's where that kind of excitement come from when they hear me on those tracks. Yeah.
And I think that, you know, you seem to be working closely with Nuh Rush Records, because earlier in 2023 we have had the follow-up single, yes, Proud of Myself.
Yes.
Wow, what a song.
Oh yes, that song is very dear to me, because it's life journey, and music is the best way to talk about life journey. And so we as a people in general did 3 years of being locked down in our houses and in our homes and in our private spaces, and we have experienced many different changes and emotions and different stuff. Some people are still experiencing that based on the mental issues that you see even here in Jamaica that's rising. But there was also a set of people that was fighting for themselves during this time as well, who never wanted to give up, who never wanted a reason to quit. And so these are the people who are really celebrating with the hope that those who think that they can't be proud of themselves can see that, yes, you can be proud of yourself if you really do the work and put yourself in the position. You can say, yes, I am proud of myself. And that's what we are encouraging moving forward, because not a lot of that is happening, for people to feel a sense of belong, that sense of, you know, I did something good for myself, so I can say, yes, I did. Yeah. Don't wait on people to do it.
I think as the human race, we rarely tap our own shoulders. We kind of wait for someone to give us that endorsement or credit. But I guess that part of the thing is that we live this very fast life now.
Yeah.
Everything's very instant, and sometimes you miss that moment where you can actually reflect back. You know, as a child, they might have a great day at school, but then before you know it, they're sort of like maybe doing homework, playing video games, and they forget what they've done in that day.
Yes, and it's about reconnecting with self. You know, you don't validate yourself through your phone screen. You know, who is the person holding on to the phone? You know, when I put this phone down, how do I feel really? You know I have the things to make my smile brighter and to make my face smaller, but when I go to the bathroom to do whatever and I take a peek at the mirror, am I afraid of what I just glimpsed? Right. Or am I encouraged as to what I'm seeing coming along? Do I see what I need to improve? What are you looking at? You know, and these are things that if you pay attention to, then you'll be on your way to that moment of saying, you know, when all is said and done, I'm really proud of myself because I saw where I did it, you know? Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, you just sort of touched on people's mental health and well-being, certainly in the last 3 years. And one of the things that I've seen is that I've seen people's behavior around me change. Yeah. As a human race, we seem to have more tolerance, more acceptance of situations.
Yes. Because life is an endless cycle of change, you know, and the earth is really in a shift right now. You know, the atmosphere, the atoms is actually shifting. And as human beings, we are way behind in terms of how prepared we should have been to be shifting with the atmosphere. Henceforth, the reason why we're so scattered in how we're thinking, in how we're processing, in everything that we're doing, is like everything is happening one time. So if you're not able in that, let's say, chaos, to find that order, no pun intended, that's order out of chaos. You know, it's not the most frightening thing to say or to be or the thing to be afraid of. It's a thing to understand what does that really mean. If your household is messy and things are thrown all over you, the first thing you come in from work before you want to cook a meal, the first thing you'd want to do is sit it that the house is a bit tidied up and you can move around easily. That's how we can do it with our lives, you know. Before we move to the next step of our life, we check to see what's happening in our hearts, and we try. And all of us have a minute for that. It's just whether or not we want to take that minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the other thing that I also feel is that, you know, we've got to remember that not everybody is connected on social media.
Exactly.
Some of the elders are not going to be up on Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp and everything. And I think sometimes as people, we kind of almost sort of neglect some of the elders because we're living in this fast world. Do you see that here in Jamaica?
It was forced here in Jamaica because we grew up in a culture where our elders meant everything to us. They were the ones who gave us the little parables, you know, watch where I walk, mind your bucket toe, dopping no who fright, you know what I mean? Like all of these little things were little anecdotes that we had to guide us along the way. And I think because of the societal change and how society wants to formalize this new world, they have forced our young people to see our elders as dinosaurs. Oh, shut up. What do you know, Grandpa? I didn't see it on Google, you know, but your grandfather is the first Google. They lived it. They recorded it in their natural DNA so that they could pass it to you, so that you could stay in that consciousness of understanding what it means to love the elders before you, because they know, they've been there, they saw it all. They can tell you what everybody else is trying to tell you. They lived it, you know. So it's very sad that they are treated and are dealt with the way. And I personally have a very strong issue with that, because it was my elders that I were listening to coming up, so that I could know that there was a Jamaica where elders were respected highly, you know. And I think even today there are still sprinkles of it, because even some rural communities, you still have youths that would walk by an elder and say good afternoon and good evening, because our elders taught us that, you know. And I would love to say to parents everywhere around the world in our age group that we need to go back to some of the things that those elders taught us, even if our kids are ruling us now, you know.
Yeah. It would be easy to just to blame this all on technology, this mind shift. But what do you feel are the causes of, you know, some of the youths not maybe having that level of respect? Because, you know, we probably both grew up in a time where we did have those morals and values which seem to be declining. I can't blame it on technology though.
No, it's so the village have now moved online, and the village raised the children. You know, my parent talk to your parents talk to the other parents, and then we come together and we say to your kid come back and said, Mom said this last night, and it's a networking happening. The kid comes in, she picks up her phone, mom picks up her phone, dad picks up his phone, the brother picks up his phone, they're around the table, they're having dinner, everybody has their phone. So it's a distraction where the new village is now online. And that's why sometimes it feels like you want to blame social media, but those who influence cultures, they pay attention as well. And so they find that to distract you from your literal grandparent, you put an idea of it on the tablet and have the tablet person say what your message that you would want for the child to have be. And then when that child goes back to grandmother and say, Mom, I saw it on tablet where they say your shoe should not be put on the way it's put on. And grandma would be like, who told you that? There's only one way to put your shoe on. And they're going to say, but no, Ma. The guy on Rick was saying that your shoe can be put on from the side, and you're there wondering what is wrong with us? What have we gone to? But it's for us to realize in those moments and say humans are going to experiment, and they experiment for wrong reasons sometimes. But we should not forget our children, no matter how difficult it looks in terms of influence and who influences what.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a parent myself, you know, it is a bit of a struggle or fight between trying to get those values across to your children against what TikTok or what YouTube says, right? But you have to have balance. You have to, because it's the yin and the yang. That's another thing from our elders, you know what I mean? Yes, we can have an evolving world where we can portal to different centuries and all of that nice, good stuff. But do we come back to foundation? You know, it's coming back to that art, to that self, to that feeling, to that, you know, present. And you can't get away from it. It doesn't matter how advanced we get. You can't do without the motherboard, which is how nature intended it to be. Yes, it's working in balance, because he gave us the wisdom, the knowledge, courage, the understanding to do whatever we want. He just asks that we don't be irresponsible. True. That's all he asks. Yeah. Well, do you know what? I really love the new song, Proud of Myself. So we have to congratulate you on putting something out there for the people and something that people can listen to when they come home at night time from school, from work, and just take a few moments to reflect on themselves.
Yes, and just to say, today was rough, but I'm proud of myself. My boss didn't put me up on the rank. I've been expecting this upgrade, this promotion, but I'm proud of myself because I'm working towards that. It's very encouraging. I'm singing these words because at some point someone would have said, you know, I'm proud of you, Queen, and I'd have to go look into myself and wonder, are you proud of you, Queen? You know?
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? And then putting those two together, it really does come to that condition to say, yeah, you know, so I'm proud of myself and I check everything. Yeah.
Well, I have to big up Nuh Rush Records for a great production as well. Share with the viewers a little bit about Nuh Rush Records, because for me, they're quite a young production house. Yes. Who are the people behind Nuh Rush Records?
So the thing about Nuh Rush Records now is, I think it has a little special thing, because everybody have known me in Flames production since I came into the industry. I've never necessarily spoke about another record label. I talk about different managers and stuff like that, but I've always worked through 56 Kennel Drive. But the thing about Nuh Rush Records, I was approached by Junior Brown, who is the CEO, to do a song on a project that he had coming out called Redemption. I think it was...
This is the Predators Paradise.
Predators Paradise song. Right. So that was the first project. The first time I'm meeting them, the first project I've ever done with them. And so what drew me now to do more products with the label was the business ethics of Junior Brown, the way he was involved in bringing forward reggae music in this time. You know, you have the Donovan Jermaines, but who take over from these stalwarts, you know? And we have seen a fallback of that where all the greats come along, but no one carries it along. So that was refreshing. The fact that the label is called Nuh Rush again, it drawn my attention, because you don't have to do it in a rush. And that's another thing about us Jamaicans. You'd hear us say things like, me not have to rush, me not rush. So it's a thing that is a part of who we are, to take your time and to do things. So I think that was commendable for them to name the label. They have a very good team. They work well together in terms of, if I'm supposed to turn up here and you want them on the phone to say where I am, so it's about separating duties. You know what I mean? Queen Ifrica is a product aside from the person, yes. And so therefore there has to be some form of formalities around how I function as a performing. And so for right now, Nuh Rush Records is the one that I've chosen to work with in that way, and I have no regrets so far. It's a good partnership, yeah.
Well, I think the music that we've heard from artists that they have in their camp, like Kananga, yes, I've heard productions with Busy, also, Tony yes, Curtis. Yes.
And also he has a sister there as well called Cherise. She does kind of like contemporary music, but she's beautiful black girl, and she sings so beautifully. She's loved in London a lot as well, some parts of Europe, and she's coming up nicely too. And I love where it's going in terms of how we support our music and keep that, because it's so it's such a rich, pure, unconditionally bar none superstar music to be a part of, you know. And I'm happy and humbled to be around and to can support young, you know, producers, artists coming along and have the strength to record and having it sound good. Yeah. I think that's all good.
What do you feel that Nuh Rush Records bring out differently in Queen Ifrica's music versus, say, work that you've done with Flames, with Donovan Jermaine, and so forth?
I think it's the freshness of how, like if you listen to Proud of Myself rhythm, it brings you back like when we were just coming in the industry, and you get a rhythm from Jeremy or any one of these bridges, and you chuck it in at the thing and it just busts in your head right away, because that's the kind. So that's it. If a lot of people, they make one drop rhythms because, you know, everybody would take a one drop rhythm, but people were calling the Danny Basie them and do it the live way and have it. When you say a man say the rhythm them lick live, you know, say our live people going to the studio and play that. So that's the excitement, because for me personally, the music lead me. I get a track, I listen to what the track is saying, and then I add myself to it. You know what I mean? And I think it's a powerful thing for musicians to come together and play an instrument. Then I come in, write words and melodies to it, put it together, and then put it to the world, and it's magic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm completely humbled, you know, to even be a part of that kind of army. Yeah. So that's the excitement, just the love of putting it together, not just for the monetary gain, but for what you want the sound and the feel to be when it go out there. Yeah.
I think the thing that I really like is that, like you just said, the attention to detail. So the songs that I've heard so far from the Nuh Rush camp, they're going to be songs that will still be played in years to come. It's not going to be something that's played for a week or a month and then we dash it away.
That's the idea. And if that's not the idea, then our youths would be robbed of experiencing the process, you know. So I really want to say kudos to not only Nuh Rush, but anyone else that's coming up and that's looking at what it means to really dedicate to the feel, because the feel important, you know. Yes.
Now, we touched on your first song production works with Nuh Rush, Predator's Paradise.
Yes.
It touches a very, very serious topic, which I think is still current here in Jamaica, with the case involving Donnelly Donaldson.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on what's going on there?
Well, what's going on there, I can't even say anything else now but more than to say it's a deliberate attempt to close a portal and to open another one. So in other words, let me try to explain. Jamaican people, the local mass, the one that is called the poor people, are the engine that powers everybody that comes along. They come to that mass of people that has that energy, that style. If they love you, you win. If they don't love you, you have to go work and come back. They are the ones who are suffering. They are the ones who are now busy trying to figure out why it is that their kids are dying so much, their sons are leaving home and not coming back home, relationships. So they can't even love music anymore because they can't feel anymore now. They're distracted by all of these people that they supported to put them where they are. They went up there and throw a big rock stone down the hill, roll off everybody, and be injured. This is the only way I can say it, because there's no other explanation. They loved everyone that came along, and then they got left behind. And everyone is looking on and is saying, yeah man, then we work it out, man. When it comes to a part where you can manage, we're going to bring in some people to help those who leave. But it's not fair to those who are dying, and they're dying so rapid. Since I did that, a young man tortured his girlfriend with hot iron and burn her for days, locked her up in her room for days because of relationship. It's a legacy from slavery, a trauma that no one has addressed it for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and have been used for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of other reasons. And now this is the trash of it. So they're now ringing the trash. You know them coconut where you ring so till you can't do nothing with the trash we left because it rings so dry. That's what's happening to the people right now. And we're saying, as people with conscience who stand on the shoulders of this very man that we're sitting in his place, Bob Marley, who died at 36 because of how hard he was pushing. Check how young him start push. You know what I mean? It is worth it for us to see that and still continue if the need is still there, you know. And that is simply the motivation to say, see a voice here, use it the way you can do, you know what I mean? Yes.
Now, as we said earlier, when you're known for speaking the truth, you don't hold back. And I sometimes feel as though what you actually say, whether it's in an interview or whether it's on a stage show, it's kind of what other people are already thinking, but you have that strength to actually vocalize it yourself.
Yeah. Because we are connected. We come from the same source as human beings. So the ones that form the coalition, what they call it, alliances, and they are the ones who have the masses everywhere around the world suffering, they know what they're doing. The masses, on the other hand, is thinking about survival and feeding their family. So if you come along and you say to me, you know, I see that you're in a problem and I think I can help you, I'm going to believe you because I really do want that help. So it's for you to be genuine, whoever you are and whatever you come with, to say to me that I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it for real. Instead, you take my compassion, you wrap it up, you put it in a pocket, and it bring you to where you want to get. And as soon as you get there, you throw it out with the rest of the rubbish, and then you say, oh shit, that maybe next year if I need them, I might go back. But for right now, I'm good. I'm in. Like, who does that? Constantly over and over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Like, at what point do you draw the line and say, you know, this is bullshit, we need to meet, guys, let's meet. Just imagine Joe Biden and Donald Trump and the Russian guy and the Ukrainian guy and the guy over England, because we have a new guy in England now, call a meeting and surprise the world to say, you know, we're gonna have a human to human, maybe burn some weed and
Can you imagine that?
film it and just reason and have people call in on the same social media and go live with them, and I can ask Elon Musk a question, and as a regular man, and Elon Musk can say to me as a regular man that I am regular like you, I just supersize myself because I totally completely refuse to live like how I see you willing to live. And if you're willing to live that way, I'm gonna feed you what it needs to keep you that way because it makes me live this way. I mean, that's the only literal way I can look at it, and to say these people know what they're doing, and because the mass is onto it, talks about it in their living rooms, and they don't see enough on this side of them to say, hey, that's why they did that to Kanye. Kanye came back over. Whether somebody used him to come back over, he came back to the people for a second and say, hey, you want to know what's happening in there? Let me tell you. And you see what happened. Because it's a business. They're taking the feelings or natural emotions and turning it into business. They look at what makes us emotional and use it against us. And our families are affected in the long run for it. And they need to stop it now. Shift. I welcome the shift. But let this be a part of it. Put the people's real cause and real issues on the table and turn them over for once, please. You know, let us all see that happen at least once. Can you please just do that? Come on.
This is a call to the leaders of the world from Queen Ifrica.
Yes, come to the goddamn table, man, with some weed and some ital soup and just lay down. Just take the tie off. You know what I mean? Just lay out and just reason.
Do you think we can call Andrew Holness into this meeting as well?
Unless he's not going to be too busy trying to to fix the things that we're still looking on to see what exactly is he fixing, because he's almost the only leader in the world that's doing it right according to his own understanding. Yeah. So if he's not too busy, would I call him along to? Yeah.
One of the things that I sort of feel is that all the people I talk to, whether it's musicians, whether it's just people, friends, people on the street, everyone seems to say the same thing. There is a disconnect within reggae music right now.
Because it is the music of resistance. It is the music that broke barriers, languages, cultures, beliefs, everything to do with feeling. Reggae music did that. Wherever you went in the world before there was social media, reggae music was what made people tell world leaders, hey, did you hear what that song just said? It said you're not supposed to be doing that though. We saw in Berlin where the strength of the people came from the music of Bob saying, get up, stand up, get up, stand up for your rights. You know what I mean? It's not bloodshed, it's not chopping up. It's saying, what are you really doing? And so reggae music suffered for that. They decided that they would kill that resistance. And so they found a way to commercialize it and to make it still that force, but a force controlled by them and how it is dispersed by them. So now, something that we gave you, we are now craving so much for it because you turned us into consumers, and we want it so much, but you're deciding what it comes with. Yeah. And that's why, that's the disconnect, because it should be about speaking to the powers that be, the tool of the people, the vessel, us, the musicians, who are willing to sing what the little man on the corner is saying. And you, the politician or the world leader or whoever you are in authority, hearing it and then making the necessary actions as you are elected and appointed to do. And that's the harmony, that's the true democracy. That's how I am looking to see true democracy played out, when everything and everyone gets a chance to be a part of the conversation. Yeah.
On a local level, I feel that, you know, some of the lyrical content, the quality of the productions, the musical output, the songwriting, it all seems to be not as strong as it used to be, though.
As again, it's the same thing. It's about, so if you come to my house for the first time and I give you a meal, I make a big introduction of the meal to you. I tell you, you know, I'm going to give you a meal, and I want you to rate it honestly and tell me what you feel about it. You taste that meal and it's so amazing. You're like, you know what you was going to do, you know, and you love it so much, to the point of you beginning to re-invite yourself to my place because you want that meal so much. This is what has happened, especially to our youths, via music. They were introduced to something because curiosity does kill the cat. So you're curious about something, it comes along, it has a shock vibe to it, and it's like cocaine. It's the same method. They say when you take the cocaine for the first time, it's the best high you ever get, and the reason why you become an addict is because you always want that high again and you never get it. So the kids are not seeing what used to happen in 90s dancehall amongst the Tony Rebels and the Buju Bantans and the Berry Sammons and the Capetons and the Sizzlers and the, you call the names, when people just wanted to hear what they were coming with next. You hear the new Buju, you hear the new Tony, you hear the new, and that was kind of like keeping like an adrenaline rush. Yeah. And then those brethren disappeared and the void was left. A void was left, begin to start show itself, and a gap begin to create, and the gap began to get wider until it was actually left dormant after a while. As coming in as a female artist, I was picking for men and women, dancehall and reggae, because I saw that it was pulling away from what, that's what one of the reasons in the early 2000s why I stood out again to come back as to why I stuck to reggae music, because I saw that if it was dependent on the stalwarts that was there, it would really be left in the 90s and nothing would come over. So the Taurus Rileys and the Ayactanes and all this youth that came along, the Etanas, they came along with Queen Ifrica, if I should say so myself, even as much as they would have come from those 90s artists, because all of us would have been listening to those. But when it comes to sticking to it and staying the course, we started to stay in the course to make it to this future. So we are now asking the ones that are putting it together and are getting a better understanding of it to do that as well, so that it doesn't feel so tasteful. It's like you come back to the said house where I began with the story, and one day you come and you're wondering if it's the same meal that kept you coming here all along, because you wonder, so what happened to the cabbage taste? Who left out is Kelly had something left out, you know what I mean? And that's it. That's what we're feeling now. That passing on of the elder to the youth middle age to the ones coming into, you know what I mean? So we can reconnect it, because if we disconnected it, it's our job, you know, to reconnect it, and it can happen. It's for us just to put our differences aside and be willing to do the work. Yeah,
because I think a lot of people often, you know, just put the blame on the government, the politicians and things, and saying that the government's not doing enough for our music and things, despite, you know, Jamaica having so many visitors and tourists like myself that come in, and it's the music that grabs us. It's not the beaches,
it is not.
It's the music and then the people and the food and things as well. But I feel as though I think that the change has got to come from within the industry, because the politicians are
Piggybacking.
They're not going to do what we need.
Piggybacking on the chaos because they don't have to say anything. That's why Andrew Holness and I keep calling him Andrew Holness, not out of disrespect, but because I want to humanize him. He's always using the very music that even the one that is not so much music right now, because the kids are gravitating towards it, he will go into all the areas where these songs are, and he want the baddest one out of it to be for him campaign trail leading song. Why do you use the music to keep you in power if you can't use it to empower those who keep you in power? Because you know why you use the Clark song, you know why you use government badness, you know why you use these songs, because it's on every youth's lips and they are the lips you want to be on. So if they hear you say government badness because one of their favorite artists said it, they're going to be like, you hear the Prime Minister talk about government badness? Right away you're busting at every household, because that's shortcut, that's cheating, because you're not using it to say, see, I'm using your language, so now you do something back for me. I'm going to put up an internet cafe in the middle of your community. Now you promise me that you're going to go there every evening and you're going to learn something about online and monitoring yourself. Why can't it look like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It can't look like that, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, one of the other things that I've sort of realized is that, where is the support for our elder artists? I've spoken to artists that have fallen on ill health, and, every few months you'll see something on social media, a GoFundMe campaign because such and such. Why isn't, I mean, I know that there is an association in Jamaica for vintage artists, but do the vintage artists, do the elders know about these things?
Corruption is a big old blanket to spread out across Jamaica from the very first arrival of slavery on this land, when they had to use this African against that African. That legacy is still here, only being used in new ways. Right. That's the only way I can tell you to give you an answer for that. You know what I mean? These people have been using the old corrupted tactics to do all the things that they're doing, and this is why it is the way it is. Yeah. But
then the elder artists, the people that have been some of the pioneers in our industry, they're suffering.
Education for artists was not a given. It was your talent you're going to use to do something for yourself. This is the next thing about us here in Jamaica. The talented one in the family is the one that is labeled the black sheep. Is the one that most times end up on the shitty end of this thing, if I can say that. So someone will see that talent in that person in the family, and they will do nothing about it. They will cuss. The artists get the most cussing, say, you can't go and get up every day about, sing. No, come out of that. You tell them, you see everybody else will try, see them go and sit on one side. No, you check an artist way when him open his mouth and say, who is like unto thee, Haile Selassie, who is like unto thee? And him hear himself and him say, but me just sing that, Would like everybody to hear that, but they never send him go to school. Them treat him the worst in the family, so him start have that sense of, boy, what me if you do? So what I gotta do, I gotta just go and stick to music, because it me know, and it me must get when me forget out of it. And then, so said, so done. Here comes a culprit line up in the studio. Yeah, doesn't come out of a vaccine room. The fattest culprit. I move in and I say, you sound good, who have you publishing? And I said, publishing, one answer. All right, that's a number one tick. Anybody manage you? Say, no, me not get no help, everything rough. And all right, tick number two. You travel yet? All the things where you would have envisioned, but you now remember say, I trust me, I trust that person, because I don't have a clue how to defend myself, but him look like a trustworthy person. So right away you hand over yourself to this individual now, and this individual I give you the ropes and I give you the rhythm them, and you get one car for drive because you like our car and thing, but nobody now tell you say, at the last song when you pay, you have to go pay back for the car out, and it take a little while for the money bill up. Nobody now tell you that. They just say, sing, man. Do him a go studio, man. And then you be sing 5-10 album later and you're the biggest thing in the world. And you don't have nothing at all for show feet. Because the culprit them we call themselves managers and team, and that's why I big up yourself when you turn up Nuh Rush Records, Tony Rebel them as well, because these are men where defend their own in terms as artists, having a right to your talent, to live off of your talent. I am the reason why the crowd come to the venue though. It's my voice them hear and like and say, you know, is that person sing that song? This is the same person we never have no education, we never know where them foot are go the next way, and now them reach a stage where them can turn up in any king and queen household only to go home to an empty fridge with nothing in there to eat. It's if you stop, the artists they must find lawyers to bring these culprits to book and make them, at least them children them can say, my dad did this, my mom did this, and this is what I have to show of it. You have to big up the Marley boy them to them sit down in them throat and say, oh, my father thinks this but defend. You understand what I'm saying? I could have said the same for Derrick and him have some boy that where I'll search around for every little thing where them can find. It's not fair. Because these artists was singing from them art. When them go to studio, them not think. When time master them will tell you say them used to share one bull and broke one patty in how much 100, and a man just get a crumbs. If he just wet it tip and tongue, if he say, yeah, alright, I saw the party there with that taste if me didn't get peace. You understand what I say? That was the love and the camaraderie with them man, they did a show. That's why the music, it feels so good. So it say, no ball, no ball, no ball, no ball. And you come off of the work and you feel for ball, for choke off you from morning, you work and not even lunch, you not eat. But you play music for studio, and when you put it in, you hear burning spirit tell you say, Marcus Garvey word all come to pass, so things are go alright, no give up, stand up, walk off. You understand what I say? They're not supposed to dead feel hungry for that. Them feel comfortable. If you stop, bottom line. Yeah.
I think what you just shared about the business side of it, that is something that I think has been problematic from the 60s. Look at all the people that went through Treasure Isle, Coxon.
My father would say, one of the things that would often say to me is, Bedata, make sure say you know do the praise without raise, you know. Cause that's all we did get when we are come. Be a praise. You get praise with every single will come out, but nothing for sure behind it. So he was one of them who was always encouraging, say, if you get according to your work, you get your pay, man. And when me always did love with a Bob Marley, he always would say, I don't do this for money. I do what I do. And then when the money come, but it's the love that I have for people. I do it through music, and I hope that the people heart will be satisfied. That's where he was coming. He was vibrating from what it means to do the work and get the pay. You know? So the artists them forget the pay, man, them do the work. Yeah, man.
Well, let's hope that we can make some changes within the industry, because, you know, a lot of people are saying that reggae music is kind of like being taken over by other parts of the world. I still see, as a foreigner, Jamaica is the home and the birthplace of reggae music. Yeah. It's great that reggae music is being made by producers in Europe and Japan and everything. Credit to all of them, because they've kind of embraced the culture, but the foundations is right here.
Yeah, I've never seen fruits grow out of the root of a tree, grow out of the branches, but the root remain. You know what I mean? The root is the root of the tree. And the tree prune and drop off leaf and spring back again and another season. One tree not carry the same set of leaf. Every winter season it drop and fresh leaves come. So we don't have a problem with the fresh leaves that's blossoming all over the world. But don't forget it has a root though.
Yes. And
that's what we're working on now. Watering that root so that the fruits are eatable and they're not flimsy. And you want to say, January tree I used to bear some good fruit, but from what they are them finky. We can't start beer, because you're going to have one and two fruit impacted by worm, but at the same time, another whole tree, isn't me? Yeah, so that we stick to the truth there.
Yeah.
At the root, man. I at the root.
True.
It's what I say, as it is in the beginning, so shall it be in the future, man. Yeah.
Music-wise now, you're an artist that I feel does a slow cook in terms of release of albums and things. So your first album, I think, was released around about 1996. Yeah. It took a good more than a decade, I think, for your follow-up album, which was with VP Records, Montego Bay. Yeah. And then we had Climb in 2017. Yeah. Are we bubbling now towards an album project with Nuh Rush?
Definitely. And the thing about it is, if Bob Marley, Marcus Garvey, Miss Lou, they did it in the past, who's going to do it in the future? They paved the way for us to make it to the future. And the future now is where our music is most needed. If anyone has ever listened to reggae music and dancehall music before, now is the time that they want to. So I am humbled to can sit here and tell you that I am working on an album for real, and when it comes, it's going to be absolutely in the right time, because of the fact that the time is now for the fresh branches from the root to show that, we come off fitness and we're ready for feed now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And as we say, it's a balance. We are now the new elders that are around to really and truly reach forward to the ones coming and say, this is how you guide the tree along, you know what I mean? The tree of life, music, you know what I mean? That's the job. So yeah, man, some beautiful, and it's very timely too, and what I love about music is how we can pace ourselves in it, and it's not about writing about everything every time, but sometimes it's about stepping back and really looking at the picture for real. Just have that moment and then act and deliberate on what you see from the picture, So that's where it's at, and it's a good vibe, it's a good feeling, and I'm excited. You know what I mean? Every day I get up and I write some new stuff, because the youths are thinking new too. So you can't bring the message the same or. You have to reach them where they are,
Meet them halfway.
All right, what are you listening to? Okay, let me put this on it and let you dance while you listen. You know what I mean?
Well, look, Queen Ifrica, I really give thanks for your time, sharing some thoughts on music, life in general. Touring, what's happening this year? Are we on the road?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Bahamas on the 23rd with Aline to do Love and Reggae. I'm looking forward to that. I think that's a good idea. Big up to the promoters. And also have some local shows here in Jamaica that we're pending up also. And yes, we're about to do some shows on the road as well, because the people love what Queen Ifrica doing music over the years, and never do anything else but this. You know what I mean? There's the one thing can be said about me is that I stay in that lane there, and I in that lane there with it.
I think the good thing about Queen Ifrica is that even when we come to a stage show, all right, there's an element of surprise, but in principle, we know what we're going to get.
Yes, because we all, a football team, it have a lot of different, field that like color over there, so I can tell you different positions them in the team. So it's us in music. We all have a position in the team, you know what I mean? And I just want to hold my goal and know, say, you know, kick the goal in, yes, Let me say, Queen, well, so yeah, I just basically that me I do, you know what I mean? Me I hold my position in the team, so me not shift round, because you gotta always need someone else to, you know what I mean, come sit in and hold off, and you gotta drink some water and stuff like that, but make sure you hold it though. Yeah, that's what I say, yeah.
Queen Ifrica, enough blessings from all the Reggae Interviews team. We give thanks once again. Bless.
Pleasure. It was my pleasure.
Reggae Interviews. Word Sound Power.